The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to give people a little bit of time to sign in. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give you all a little time to sign in. I appreciate the fact that you got the email with the link so that everyone's on the right webinar. We had a little technical difficulty yesterday, so I appreciate everyone responding and getting it right the first time so you don't miss anything. Give it a minute or two more. Okay, I'm going to start with the good housekeeping seal of approval details. You guys, if you've been on the call before, you've heard it, but you know we have to say it so you know what's going on. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and welcome to AICC's webinar today. AICC members save with total energy solutions and procurement. I am Taryn Pyle, and I will be hosting this webinar today. If you are new to AICC's webinars, I want to welcome you. AICC, the Independent Packaging Association, is dedicated to uniting and celebrating the success of inspired independent packaging companies through education and networking opportunities in person, online, and in print. If you want to learn more about all that AICC offers members, you can visit our website at aiccbox.org or give us a call at 703-836-2422. My personal number is 703-535-1391, and I would welcome talking to any of you at any time. One of our newest benefits is our free e-learning courses available to all member companies and their employees, and you can find information and the courses at our packaging school under the Learn tab on our website. We have a few housekeeping details before we get started. The webinar today is 60 minutes long. A copy of the presentation and a link to the recording will be provided via the email that you gave us when you registered for the course. The materials will be placed on Dropbox, and you will need to download them to your computer in order to view them in their entirety. I do want you to know that in these webinars, you can hear us, but we can't hear you. We do this because we're recording this session, so you have access to your webinar sessions whenever you need them. However, if you have a question, comment, or concern at any time during this session, there's a question box in your control panel, and you can post a question and we will answer the questions at the end of the webinar. Right now, let's do a sound check. So if everyone can hear me clearly and see my screen, please click on the orange hand icon in your GoToWebinar control panel. That way I'll know that you guys are seeing us and everything's clear and you don't have any problems. Okay, I haven't seen anybody click, so does that mean you can hear me or not? There we go. All right, thank you. That's all I needed was one. With technology, there's always a possibility of losing a connection, sound, or viewing of the presentation. If this happens, please send a message to our site using the messaging feature. You should stay online and wait for the connection to begin again. AICC will keep you posted on the status of any problems using the chat feature in everyone's GoToWebinar control panel. If you get a dial tone or are disconnected, have problems viewing the picture from the site, you will need to call back in. This would indicate a connection problem on your end. As we begin, please remember AICC is an international trade association, and as such, members are bound to uphold the letter and spirit of all applicable competition and antitrust laws, including those of the U.S. and Canada. During this call, there will be no discussion allowed concerning prices, customers, customer or market allocations, specific accounts, discounts, terms, and all other matters prohibited by law. We would then have to end the webinar immediately if there is a violation of the antitrust laws. And now I'd like to introduce you to Carrie Shepard with APPI. Carrie?
Thank you, Taryn. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Shepard. I am the Marketing Analytics Manager for APPI Energy, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. As Taryn mentioned, all lines are muted. We ask that you please submit questions at any time using the panel on your screen. Our presenter today is Jane Seagrave Sidebottom, Vice President, Marketing and Business Development with APPI Energy. We thank Taryn Pyle for joining us as well with AICC. Let's get started.
Great. Thank you so much, Carrie. I certainly appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate the wonderful relationship that we've had with AICC. Really, since 2003, we've been endorsed by AICC and have helped many, many of the members throughout the United States. As you can see here with our map to the lower right-hand corner, this depicts the states that are deregulated and competitive for electricity in the green states, that is electricity and natural gas. And the blue states are just natural gas. So we work with AICC members throughout the deregulated states and have helped many of them reduce and manage their energy consumption. And that's what we'll learn about today, not only reducing consumption, but also reducing the price that you're paying for the juice that you use in technical terms. So with that, today we're going to discuss a little bit about the industry, what's going on in the industry on a broad spectrum, also looking at that, then bringing that down finitely to a particular utility. The utility that I've chose to look at today is the Med-Ed service territory, which is in Pennsylvania. Of course, I can look at any service territory. If you're located in Ameren or ComEd out in Illinois, we can help you there as well. Of course, any of those utilities, I just want you to know that we'll look at this at macro, and then we'll bring it down to a utility. I chose Med-Ed for today's presentation. And then we'll talk a little bit about the procurement process and what is involved there and how using a consultant really is to your benefit. And it's a member benefit that AICC provides to you, and there's no upfront cost to you to do that. So let us help you out. We know you're busy running your organization and you're wearing 10 hats, and being in the energy markets every single day is probably not one of those 10 hats that you're wearing. So let us help you with that and see what we can do about getting you a great price. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit today about our new division, which is our Energy Solutions division. This division has been created to help you reduce your consumption. So we talk about the procurement side, where we can get you a better price on the electricity or natural gas that your organization consumes. And then on the energy solution side, think of that as really the products that we can help you with to reduce your consumption throughout your organization, and also to reduce your demand. That's a huge challenge for many manufacturers today, and it's a huge cost for many manufacturers as well. So this new division has been well received. We are currently doing a test in the Mid-Atlantic region, and we will be rolling this out nationwide later on in 2019. But just a sneak peek of that today and what we've been able to accomplish through that. So a little bit, as I mentioned, we're going to start macro. What I've chosen here is the PJM wholesale market settlement charts. PJM being Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland grid. So this is a large geographic space, and of course a large intricate grid that the grid system operators control every single day. And these are the prices on the spot market that we're seeing today as well. Natural gas at the bottom left-hand corner is also the natural gas historical pricing. Both of these charts go back about 10 years, and you can see the natural gas and the electricity charts really do emulate each other. Of course, the electricity chart, you're going to see much stronger spikes, much higher peaks, and lower lows, because of course we cannot store electricity, whereas with natural gas, we do store natural gas quite readily. And production right now of natural gas has been big, and actually the storage of our natural gas has come down. However, we still haven't run into an issue yet because we have more pipelines in order to be able to get the natural gas out to where it needs to flow. We are seeing that upturn in the market happening as we speak. So you can see it went up quite substantially this winter, and then now has come down. We do anticipate that to continue to turn around and go back up. So, and that will of course affect electricity prices as well. So what I also wanted to share with you is what happens now in the competitive market. Now that you can go buy your electricity or natural gas from another supplier, what happens with the utility? So today, your supplier that you're buying your electricity from can buy that on the spot market. They can buy it, hedge it today for your future needs, and be able to do that on the spot market. Whereas your utility, if you're still with the utility, or if you're looking to go back to the utility, they have to, they contract this through tranches, and they procure their energy on a previous market. So as you saw, the markets right now are very low. So it is a great time to get into the market and procure and hedge your energy for some time in the future. We'll talk a little bit about that and how we can help with that. And then down at the bottom bottom left-hand corner of this slide is a graph. Again, I took it down to the Med-Ed service territory, and this graph shows you what the utility price was. That's the bar chart, the blue bars that you see in the background. That was the Med-Ed default tariff price, and the the line bars are the supplier prices on average that we've seen in the Med-Ed service territory. So clearly you can see that the pricing from the suppliers is much lower than the pricing if you were to have stayed with the utility. And what happens also, we would put you in a fixed price contract. So at some point there on the market, your contract would not see the fluctuation that we're seeing in the lines or in the bars. The bar chart, Med-Ed and many utilities change their tariff prices on a quarterly basis. And so your price, if you are on the tariff, is subject to change quarterly. However, keep in mind, many of you are large enough that you would be on an hourly price, which would change every 15 minutes. So talk about budget uncertainty. By far, if you are on an hourly price, that's certainly a lot of risk that you're assuming in your facility, because you don't know what your prices are going to be. And looking over at this over time, and this is a 2-year, I believe a 2-year chart. Nope, a 5-year chart. Sorry about that. So looking at this over time, we can see that there were times when the supply price was a little bit higher than the default service territory price. But again, looking at it over the time period here, it's almost a penny difference between the price to compare and what the supplier prices were. Also, this is an average price. This is not indicative of the price that we would negotiate for you specifically, because we only work with you and helping you procure the best energy contract that you can. So just, it paints a great picture. Just wanted you to see that and what's going on in the market, as well as what we're able to achieve for you with the competitive suppliers. And I know there's a lot going on here, but this chart shows you a few things. First of all, at the top left, this is the ERC, the Energy Research Council, which is a sister company to APPI, and it is a company that provides us with proprietary data that we can provide to you. So this is a great means for benchmarking historical prices, and not only benchmarking, but then looking at trends going forward and giving you insights as to when is the best time to buy and hedge your energy, and for how long should you do that. In the past, we've seen that the longer term contracts have been less expensive than the closer in contracts. And I'll show you how that's changing a little bit today. And we are really right on the cusp of all of that changing. But it'll help to give you some benchmarks and some guidelines as to what's going on in your market, and really going forward, what should you do? And we'll collect and analyze all of this data, all of these supplier pricing, and keep in mind, all of this that I'm presenting to you are averages. And oftentimes we beat these averages every day. I can tell you every day when we really analyze your load profile and do analysis on what it is that you need. It's a much better picture even than these averages. And then at the top right-hand corner, this chart depicts what I call the blue ocean. And what this is it's the range of pricing that we're getting in from all of our suppliers in this particular market. Again, I kept it with MedEd, and these are all the suppliers we get pricing in every day from the suppliers that we know, like, and trust. And let me just reiterate that. We work with approximately 36 suppliers across the United States, and there are hundreds of suppliers. And many of those we do not choose to work with. We have a list of criteria that we evaluate the suppliers, not only when we initially bring them in to work with them, but on an ongoing basis. We are continually doing due diligence on the suppliers that we choose to work with. I often tell members, you can do this yourself and go out and vet the suppliers yourself. But to take the time to vet even 10 suppliers in your market is an arduous task. And it's one that's, quite frankly, very, very time consuming if you want to review all their contract terms and conditions. So again, as a member benefit, we're here to help, and that's what we can do. So again, looking at this chart to the upper right-hand corner, you can see the difference in spread and pricing that we've gotten in on any particular day. We see at least a penny spread here. And for a manufacturer, if you're a manufacturer and you use 1 million kilowatt hours, which is really a relatively small manufacturer, if you're using 1 million kilowatt hours and we can save you a penny in your price, that's $10,000 to your bottom line. That's the math. That's how easy the math is done. Now, if you sign up for a 3-year contract and we've been able to save you that penny, that's $30,000 for just 1 million kilowatt hours. So you can imagine if you're burning 10 million kilowatt hours for 3 years, that's $300,000 that goes straight to your bottom line. So it's really quite a no-brainer. And then down at the bottom left-hand corner, I just wanted to share with you the trend. And this is a 24-month trend of what is going on. Again, I kept it in this MedEd service territory. But you can see in 2017, the pricing lines were very similar. You couldn't tell if a 36-month contract was better than a 12-month contract. And then as time progresses, you can see that the 36 and the 24, which are the green and the orange lines, they are well below the 12-month contract, which is the blue line. Then we see a spike in all of the prices. And then as we are coming down now, we see the 36-month contracts are above prices for a 12-month or a 24-month contract. So again, it's a volatile time in the industry. It is a great opportunity to understand what's going on in the market and determine whether or not what your risk factor is for your organization. Do you want to enter into a longer term contract? Do you want a shorter term contract? And we can help you with that. And keep in mind, we often are entering folks into a 60-month contract today is very typical, or 48 months. With the markets where they are today, it's a great opportunity to really consider a longer term contract. So with regard to the procurement process, what do we do for you? So of course, we have all of the customized analysis that I shared with you, and we would create your load profile specific to you, what your rate class is, what your KW or your demand has been, what your cap tags are. So we would really customize your profile, and then we would encourage you to look at the energy pricing trends and the forecasts that we can provide to you as well. And all you have to do to get started is to submit to us a bill and what we call an LOA, which is a letter of authorization. That enables us to go to your utility, get your usage for a year. We'll structure your RFP and submit the RFP, as we see here in stage 2, out to all of those suppliers that we know, like, and trust. Again, no upfront cost to you and no obligation. We can come back with pricing for you, and you may say, I'm just not ready right now, and that's fine. We'll review the pricing discovery with you so we can see what anomalies may be in the pricing, what sweet spots might have come in. Really, what does a 12-month pricing look like compared to a longer term contract? And we'll be able to provide you with analytics to see how that contract price compares to what it could have been or what it may be in the future. And a lot of that depends on your start date. And of course, with this, we would provide you with budget certainty. So you don't see those quarterly changes or the hourly changes in the tariff price that we spoke of earlier. And then ultimately, we'll negotiate a contract on your behalf. We will negotiate not only the price, but also the contract terms. Are there bandwidth provisions in the contract that you may want us to negotiate out because you know your plant is going to be changing and you're adding a shift, or you may be adding some equipment, something along those lines. Again, talking you through all of those what-if scenarios will certainly help in the long run. Maybe you are going to be doing some facility upgrades that will drastically reduce your consumption of energy. And again, those are the types of analysis and information that, as your consultant, we want to work with you on so that we can share with you any insight that may be lurking for you coming down the pike. And keep in mind, we only advocate for you and never the supplier or the utility for that matter. And then this is what we do. This is what we present to you. This is the pricing discovery that I spoke of earlier. And in this, it looks so simple, and it is simple when we present it to you. But keep in mind that all of the key supplier criteria is what we do on the front end so that we can be confident in what it is that we are presenting to you, and that we know that it's truly a green apples to green apples comparison. As far as the criteria that we look for price, and do they have competitive pricing, not only in this territory, but where else in the United States are they working right now? Do they provide sweet spot pricing for us? Because that oftentimes can be a lower price and more attractive terms and conditions for you as well. What about a fixed price on a start date and cost to carry over a contract? Well, look at contract terms, and there are many different terms within a contract. What kind of pricing do they pass through? What are their payment terms? What are their early termination fees? What if you forgot an account in a back building somewhere on the back 9 of your facility and you need to add that into the contract? Can you add that into the current contract that we just negotiated? Or do we have to negotiate a new contract for you for that account? So those are types of things that we want to understand with these suppliers, so that once this does happen and you enter into a competitive agreement with them, that all of these things are taken care of for you. Finally, we want to look at the viability. What is the financial strength of the organization? You can see many of the suppliers that we use are indeed top-tier suppliers. But again, there's many suppliers that we use that are top-tier suppliers that you may not be familiar with. Constellation is certainly a household name, or at least in my household with energy as part of my life, I will say. But you know, many of these, WGL, Direct Energy, many of these are household names, but many aren't. But they still may be the best price on that particular day for you. We also look at customer service support, and we also do a supplier satisfaction survey that we send out to our clients, aka you, the member of AICC, and we ask them, are you satisfied with your current supplier? Are there things that you want to change about that? Give us your feedback on that. So we make sure that the suppliers that we vet are indeed passing muster with the ERC survey, and they don't know that it's coming from us, which is another wonderful thing. So, when we look at the pricing discovery, to come back over to the main part here, we can see that the 12-month price from APPI Energy is the best on the sheet, and the 36-month price from Constellation is the highest price on the sheet. So when I talked about that switch earlier from the 36-month pricing to the 12-month pricing, oh yeah, it's real. I mean, it is definitely happening. So keep that in mind. It may be your best option next time is a shorter term contract or not. But again, we'll know once we do the pricing discovery for you. The other thing I wanted to point out on this pricing proposal is we did this pricing discovery in April, this April, and it's for a contract that's not going to start until February of 2020. So that's what, 10 months away, and so we're in the market today for folks whose contract is expiring in a year. Quite frankly, we're in the market today for folks whose contract isn't expiring for 2 years even, or longer. So keep that in mind, that if you are in a longer term contract, we can begin the pricing discovery for your contract that will begin in 2021 or when your current contract expires. We would not recommend that you terminate the current contract that you're in. The early termination fees are exorbitant, and we do not make that as a recommendation unless there's some obscene reason why you should be out of that contract that you're currently in. But again, it is very few and far between that we would ever do that. And then once the contract has been signed by you, there's a seamless supplier transition. We have a customer service team here that works with you to make sure that, really not even with you, they work with the supplier. You don't even know that it's happening. The lights are still going to come on. You know, they will make sure that everything is correct. The other thing that they're really good about doing, and we encourage our clients to, once you've started your new contract agreement, send in your bills so that we can be sure that you are getting billed what you should be getting billed based on the contract. And also send in all of your bills so that we can be sure that all of the accounts were picked up, as I mentioned before about the long lost shed somewhere that you forgot to add or whatever. Can we help with that? So we'll be sure that we picked up all of your accounts. And the other thing that we can help with is making sure that you're getting billed correctly. Because keep in mind, oftentimes we're working with the CFO, maybe the president of the organization, but the person paying the bills has no idea what the bill should be in many cases. So that's typically not the CFO, although many times it is as well. But we can be sure that it is the correct amount. And if it's not, we've got a bat phone to the utilities and the suppliers. We'll take care of it for you. You don't need to worry about being on hold with Comcast for the next hour because you're never going to get that time back. So let us do that for you. So we'll also continue to monitor the market for future cost reduction opportunities. When is a good time for your renewal when should we start looking at your renewal? Again, it really depends on how long of a contract that you signed. And when is a good opportunity in the market? What are we seeing going forward? In fact, there are times where we've told folks if their contract expires in June or any other month, it may not be the best time to enter into a new contract. So we may say, you know, you're better off right now with the current tariff to go back to your tariff for 2 months and let us monitor the market and look at a strike price that may be more beneficial for you than what we're seeing today. Again, we can look at those future opportunities for you if there's enough time for us to be able to do that. And then we can certainly look to see about tax exemption. As manufacturers, you have tax exemption status for that amount of energy that's used during your manufacturing process. So keep in mind that we can go back as much as 3 years and get you some of your money back, or get you money back if you've paid those taxes and were in fact exempt. We can get that money back for you. Our customer service team does a phenomenal job with that and has gotten companies and organizations hundreds of thousands of dollars back, quite frankly. So keep that in mind as well. And now we're talking a little bit about the Energy Solutions Division. Again, I want to keep this really at a high level. We are in the midst of doing a pilot program right now in the Mid-Atlantic region, and it has been going over swimmingly, I have to say. This is now the division that can help you with your facility audits, with your LED lighting. We have worked with many manufacturers to help them with their facility and their LED. We've done, quite frankly, some solar fields for some of the larger manufacturers as well. Another opportunity may be battery artificial intelligence, or there's also combined heat and power. There's many, many different ways that manufacturers can reduce their consumption and also their capacity, which is your KW, and that will help to reduce your cost dramatically. And oftentimes what we find is when we are working with manufacturers, they do have engineers on staff, quite frankly, but those engineers oftentimes are working to keep your machines running, and they aren't necessarily doing the other things that can help you reduce your consumption in the long run. Whereas This is an opportunity for us to be able to look at your facilities and just really grab some low-hanging fruit that may not cost that much, that you may be able to get rebates for, and substantial rebates depending on where you're located. Some service territories right now are offering rebates crazy. 70% of the job can be given back to the organization through rebates. I mean, so some of these rebates are just nuts, and you're crazy not to take advantage of it. And then, as I mentioned, combined heat and power, it's another new wave thing to be able to do to reduce your consumption. Sustainability is another one that we really are near and dear to our hearts. And with Earth Day just being celebrated on Monday, we look to see what we can do for sustainability with companies. We know that that's a big portion of your stewardship and your environmental stewardship. So we want to be there to help you with that. Utility benchmarking. And this is where if you have multiple facilities or multiple meters, you can then look at these facilities in real time. Right online, there's a portal. You don't have to wait for accounts payable to pay bills, and then you get a report that's generated to your VP of facilities that he gets maybe a month or two after the energy has already been consumed. And these benchmarking reports really do help you pinpoint where you want to spend the money and the time to reduce your consumption. Where are you bleeding? And these reports can really help with that. And not only with just electricity and natural gas, but even with water, waste, so other utilities, not just electricity and natural gas, as I mentioned. And then finally, demand response programs. These are programs where we have helped many manufacturers or healthcare facilities, radio stations, television stations. And what you've done here is you raise your hand and you tell the grid system operator, I will reduce my load if you need it. So in August, when we've had our 4th or 5th 100+ day in the Mid-Atlantic region, and you have signed up for a demand response program, you're paid for that throughout the year, and there may be a time where you're called upon to reduce your demand. So that means that you have been able to prove that you can reduce your demand or your consumption by X amount for X period of time. You might switch to on-site generation, or you're able to shut down a line. There may be many different reasons or ways that you can reduce your consumption. But again, keep in mind, you can be paid rather handsomely for doing just that. And then really I wanted to share with you a little bit about APPI and our numbers and what they look like and how that relates to you. Today we have approximately 15,000 accounts that we manage throughout the United States. And of that, 10 billion kWh is under management, and 18 million decatherm of natural gas is currently under management. And we have the endorsement of approximately 160 national and state trade associations. So not only AICC, but many, many other associations throughout the United States have endorsed our program as well. And we are headquartered here in Salisbury, Maryland, with approximately 42 employees. And that's really what I wanted to share with everyone today. And so hopefully I've been able to do this in a little bit less time, and we may have some time now for some questions. So I'm certainly available for any questions that may have come in. Taryn or Carrie?
Thank you, Jane, and I appreciate your taking the time to educate us on this topic. If anybody has any questions, please post them in the question box now, and we'll be reading them out so we also get them on the recording. Jane, I guess my question is, I don't know a lot about I know a lot about manufacturing, but with regard to this process or program, are there a lot of our members that are already currently involved? And if not, how would somebody get started on this? What process do they need to go through in order to begin evaluating and determining if it's important to do?
Right. That's a great question. And yes, we do have many of your members in the program, many of your members that we've had in the program for over a decade. So we've had some really great long-standing relationships with a lot of the AICC members. And really, it's so simple to get started. It's send us your copy of your bill, and we'll provide you then with an LOA, which is a letter of authorization, depending on where you're located or where your facilities are located, because you may have facilities throughout the United States. And if that's the case, then we need to get a copy of the bill for each one of your accounts, and then we'll provide you an LOA for those different utilities. And you sign that and send that back to us, and we get started. Your work is done.
I guess you've been working with us since 2011. I do know that a lot of our members are using your program. I guess what I'm wondering is, are there a lot of people that are really paying attention and evaluating their electrical and able to save money, or most people just operating like me, for example, on cell phone? I've had the same cell phone and pricing forever, and I'm sure I could get a better rate, but I just ignore it. And I guess that's what I'm wondering. Are people just kind of ignoring an opportunity where there's a lot of potential savings involved?
You know, that really is a good question. And I would tell you that today, I do believe more people are ignoring it because the energy markets are as low as they are right now. So it used to be 5-6 years ago, your energy price was, that was like number 3 line item on the balance sheet because it was such a huge expense, especially for manufacturers. And today the energy markets have come down, and it may be not as high on the radar, but I will tell you that, that it is low right now. It's a great opportunity to look at it, and it's not going to stay there. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I would be on a beach somewhere, but we know, looking at historically what's been going on, the market today in the last 10 years has only been this low about 3% of the time. So it really is about as low as it's going to go, we believe.
And that's important to know, because by getting into a contract as it gets hired, it helps them.
Right, because they'll enter into a fixed price contract. So you sign up the contract today, that's for, I'll say, 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And as the market increases, that 5 cents you're going to see with your price to compare will be going up, up, up. So
I gotcha. That makes sense. So we have a couple questions here about contracts. I got some in the mail. In my email. The first one is, what if a member is currently in a contract and it doesn't expire until October 2020? Is there anything that they can do at this time?
Right. So you may recall from the pricing discovery that I had shared with you that we'd like to be in the market ahead of time for you. Again, we'll just queue it up and see what pricing comes back for that particular start date. We would encourage you to get started. It gives you more knowledge, more pricing opportunities. It's not that you've got to sign on the dotted line today. That's not at all the case. But let us get started and see what the suppliers are willing to price your load for. You may have a really sweet load that they want, and they're going to be very competitive for. So let's look at it.
So I don't think this is the same question, but what happens if my contract is close or has just expired?
Right. So a couple of things could happen there. The first may be that you would just go back to the default service price. And so like in MedEd, for instance, if you were in a contract and it had expired and that supplier chose to let you go back to the utility, then you're going to pay the default supply price that is published. It's known. It changes every quarter. So that's going to be what your price is going to be. The other thing that could happen, though, is that that supplier that you're with may keep you with them, but put you in what's called a market-based price, or MRB, market-based rate, MBR, excuse me. And then that supplier can charge you whatever they want. And we saw that happen quite a bit during the polar vortices, and in 2014, what happened was folks were in a contract and were going along near the same contract price of what they thought, and they didn't even know their contract had expired. And these were not clients of ours, I will tell you. But then when the polar vortex hit, the pricing quadrupled. So they were paying, I'll say, 7 cents a kilowatt hour, and it went up to like 30 cents a kilowatt hour. So they blew their budget, their annual budget, in 1 or 2 months. So the market-based rate is something that you really need to be leery of, and you want to enter into a new contract as soon as you can, really.
Okay, thank you, Jane. One last question, then we'll wrap it up. Unless anybody else has any other questions that you want to post in the question feature, and we can read them out loud to get them recorded. Is there a cost for this? If they wanted to reach out to APPI, what's the catch? Is there a catch, I guess is what I'm asking.
No, there is no catch. And there is no upfront cost to the members, and there's no obligation. We can go through all the way to the pricing discovery page, where we would come, again, you send us your bill and your LOA, we do the rest. So we'll go through all of that for you. We'll structure the RFP, we'll do all of those things, provide you with the pricing discovery, and the choice is yours. I mean, you may want to enter into an agreement and you may not. So no, nothing to lose there.
Okay. Rami Saeed, I saw you raise your hand. I can unmute you if you have a question, but you also took your hand down. So you're unmuted now. Do you have a question, or did you change your mind? Rami? Okay. Nope. Looks like we're done. Thank you so much, Jane and Carrie. I really appreciate your taking the time to meet with us. Again, to contact Jane, you can reach out to her at the phone number below or the email listed below. I encourage you all to participate. As I mentioned, they've been in business with us for since 2011. So there are a lot of member companies involved. We might be able to get you some references with regard to how it worked. If you're interested in finding out from other members, we can do that as well. I know that there's been a lot of savings over the years, in the hundreds of thousands, I think, aren't we? We're at a significant number right now, aren't we?
Yes.
So I know that we really want to work with you, but it's not a situation where we're going to be overbearing or try to sell you a bill of goods. The APPI has been excellent to work with, and I know that they have the references from our members to prove it. So thank you so much, Jane and Carrie, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much, Taryn.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.